Hello. We're going to talk about positive attitudes today, um, and the difference between a positive attitude and accepting the reality of life, sort of accepting what is. Okay? My name is Deb Blum, and I am a self love and authenticity coach. And I also am the founder of a Better Life Academy and also a membership group. I run a membership group that is called Self Love Base Camp for people who are on the self love journey to have a safe space to be able to practice and explore becoming more and more authentic and true to themselves in the world. And this channel is really about me talking about how self love, um, how to really like be in the world in a self-loving, authentic, and genuinely true to yourself way. All right. So today I recently fractured the top of my femur, which is called a hip fracture. It's the greater trochanter, and it was about 7 weeks ago. And I chronicled some of my journey on Facebook to just keep people updated, and because it was actually sort of helpful for me rather than fielding everyone's individual questions, people were able to get their updates there, and it felt good for me to also just to share what was going on and to acknowledge my own progress. So this past week, I got permission from my doctor to put 75% of my weight onto that leg to walk with just one crutch. And then that next week, I'm going to be able to start walking again. And as you can imagine, that's very good news. And so I'm pretty excited about that. But through the journey, I have had my ups and downs for sure. But as I chronicled my journey, I often reflected on the hard times, but then was able to sort of share maybe the lesson in it or the greater awareness that I gleaned from it. But someone said today, you are a rock star in the positive attitude department. And I thought that was fascinating because I noticed myself being a little bit like, that's not exactly how I would have said it. Now, I grew up in a home that definitely was oriented more around having a positive attitude. There's no question. So I think of the imprint on me is to see the world in a way that is like the glass is half full. There's no question. But I have worked so hard to not be in just the positivity space because what I learned was that it was absolutely in denial of what was real and what was true. Because so often I would just put on my happy face, but inside be struggling, and I didn't even always know because I was so trained to be in that space of positivity that I didn't even really have access to sadness or to struggle or difficulty or irritation. I mean, well, actually, I had pretty good access to irritation, but I didn't have access to the feelings inside of me because I just very quickly, as soon as something happened, I would just be like, I can handle this, and just put on a happy face. So navigating times like that always seemed so easy, but what happened was as I got older, I started to feel that first of all, it wasn't as easy to do that anymore. Problems became bigger, things got more difficult, and I was starting to notice myself not being able to just be happy. This was about 12 years ago when I was like, I can't just be happy. I'm like struggling with a lot of things in my life. And so that strategy or that mask of the happy, got it all together person wasn't quite the right thing for me anymore. And so what I've learned over these past 10, 12 years is how to really just come into acceptance of my experience. So if I'm feeling sad, it's all right. Like I can feel some sadness. If I'm feeling frustrated or disappointed. It's okay to feel those feelings. And so I did not navigate these past 7 weeks, with only positivity. There were many times I was disappointed and sad. I was in a lot of pain. So there were times when I was really struggling with the pain. I was definitely not just happy. But what I was absolutely not, I was practicing non resistance. I was acknowledging that this thing happened to me. Wow, wonder why this happened to me. I was very open, still am very open to learn the lessons that it has to teach me. Maybe I think I've had to come into much deeper relationship with being present, literally, because I had to be so present with even using like a walker or moving my body, because otherwise it was too painful, and or I didn't want to trip and fall and hurt myself more. So I had to become so present. Even things like just trying to stand at the counter and do something like cut vegetables. I had to be so present and not distracted by other things, because I already had a lack of capacity because of my injury. I had to also be very carefully holding myself on only one leg, and I was holding a big knife. And so I was incredibly present with everything I was doing. I also had to slow down drastically. And I don't just mean slow down because I was stuck on the couch and in my chair, but slow down because I physically have to do things so much slower. So I could have been in the place of resistance. I could have been mad and irritated. I could have been frustrated that I have to be slow, and when is this thing going to be over, and just counting the days down to 6 weeks, so when I could finally start to do physical therapy and do more. And I could have just been in that mindset, right? But my mindset was actually not positivity, but acceptance. My mindset was, how do I stay in this present moment? How do I accept that I don't know why things happen, but that there might be something happening that actually is meaningful and valuable, and that will shape me, that is part of my path here, And I happen to believe that we actually are here. Our souls come here into these human bodies to experience things. And that if we want to, we have a choice. We can either basically be like annoyed at the body we were given, the face we were given, the experiences of our childhood, and the things that are going on right now, and trying to shape life and contort it and control it to be exactly what we want it to be, because we in our minds have an idea of what it is. Or we can come into acceptance that maybe we actually don't know. Maybe we even have way less control than we think we have, and that things happen to actually inform us of where we're a little bit off track, where we're, for me, maybe I was just being too busy, too consumed with kind of getting back into busy mode. Maybe I needed to be slowed down a little bit. Maybe it's just my next level of evolution, and I'm trying to deepen my experience of present moment awareness. And so I was given this great opportunity for 7 weeks to really tune into present moment awareness, to be really in tune with my body, to really be trusting my intuition, to really be listening to the quiet voices that are there, that are not the busy mind voices, to slow down my pace, to become vulnerable. One of the biggest things that I've had to learn here is the ultimate dependence on other people, and to really just be humbled by what it's like to literally need everybody to do everything for you. I have had to come to that place of really just being humbled by what it's like to just not be adding any value other than just being, and that everyone still loved me, and the people were still here for me and with me. That sense I would have when, my husband and son were cleaning up the kitchen and I couldn't help. And to be like, interesting what that brings up inside of me. What is it that I'm learning here? So the question is, how do we look at these things that happen in our lives. And rather than trying to change something or change someone or change the experience or change ourselves, what if we were more like a river, and imagine like I maybe am the river, or maybe I'm the rock on the side, and the river is life. And the river is kind of shaping me and smoothing out my edges and softening me up and helping me to trust that I can just be and that I don't have to work hard. And it's not my job to change the river. The river kind of flows. And how can I allow it to flow around me? And how can I also be the river of life? How can I allow life to happen and to be like in it, in it? I spent so many years of my life being numb and trying to control everything. Not only is it exhausting to try to control everything, but it's also just futile because ultimately we just don't have the power that we think we have. Now, the irony of all of that is that when we do let go and surrender and that we come into acceptance, we actually find that we have more power than ever, but it's this power that comes from within. It's the power to understand how we respond to and react to life. That's the power. That's the truest power. The truest power is to say, oh, I'm in this situation, I'm in this experience. What is this for me? What are my feelings? Where am I trying to resist? Where am I pushing back? Where am I struggling with this situation, and what does that mean? And what do I want to understand better, right? The second piece I said was numbness. Well, I spent my whole life being numb. Well, I spent, most of my life really, really dampening my emotions, my negative emotions of, not wanting to feel them, putting on the happy face, getting busy, being productive, being, generous, doing all the things. And then I would just numb out. I wouldn't really feel. And really, when I had my kids, I started to get cracked open a little bit more. I started to have access to feelings that I hadn't had before. And I, even really like the depth of love, I started to feel at a level that I never experienced before. And so I started to be like, imagine I just got like a little cracked open. I think a lot of parents get cracked open by parenting, by those beautiful, precious little beings that we have in our lives. And they can be cracked open from suffering, from struggle, and they can be cracked open from love, and all of it's kind of the same thing anyway. And I found that I was sort of opening up and feeling more. And I remember this time where I had this experience where I was dealing with some pretty severe grief. And like an incredibly difficult time in my marriage. And I was in bed in the morning, and my husband was somewhere else. I don't know exactly what happened, but I started to cry, and he started to sob, and I felt so much pain. And my husband came in, and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I literally looked up at him, and I had so many feelings I was feeling at the same time. I was sobbing in sadness. I was actually really angry at my husband too. So I was kind of feeling like some rage, and that was part of what was going on. But I also started laughing and smiling and saying, oh my God, I've never felt this much. I'm feeling so much right now, and it feels so good to feel. Because, numbness is still actually a feeling. It's like a way of being, like where it's like this contracted kind of like, it's a feeling in some ways. So it's not like numbness is actually necessarily comfortable. It might be safer. It might give you some relief. But like for me, it caused a lot of suffering. But prior to that happening, I actually remember going into my yoga class with this amazing yoga teacher who will always stand out as one of my favorite yoga teachers from forever, and he's still out doing yoga, James Higgins. And I went up to him at the end, and I said, he had done, a little bit of a talk, and it was about feelings. And I went up to him afterwards, and I said to him, the thing I'm struggling with the most is I don't have access to my feelings. And he said, can I offer you a reframe on that? And I said, Sure. And he said, you don't have access to your feelings yet. And that was powerful. And I use that often with people because so often we say things that are like fait accompli, like this is just true for me. Like I just can't ever find love, or I'm just never going to be happy. And then if you add yet to it, it's like, oh, like that's juicy. Like where's the possibility in it, right? Like we get the possibility. And he opened me up to the possibility that I was going to have access to my feelings at some point. And guess what? On that day, that was my first time that I got totally broken open into that. And what I learned was feeling those feelings is aliveness, right? So it might not feel good, right? Like we might be like, ah, and like that's just the brain that's coming in. It's like good, bad, fun, difficult, uncomfortable, comfortable, right? We're like judging, and it's the judging brain. But if you really just surrender into the feeling, right? Wow, feeling emotions, it's like energy and motion coursing through your body. And we can judge sadness as bad. We could judge grief as bad, or we could just experience it as like, wow, this is the vibration. This is energy. And I have learned for me that one of the best ways that I can move energy through my body, which is a complete surprise to me, is moving my body. So I move my body. And that was another thing that happened with this whole experience of breaking my leg is I couldn't move. So I had a lot of stagnant energy, and I had to learn how to deal with these feelings that were coming in with my experience of what was going on and sort of transmute it through other ways. And some of that was through writing and through sharing my experience. And some of it was through feeling these feelings through expression of tears or verbalizing them to other people. And then I started to learn that I could move certain parts of my body, like my upper body. So I started to move more. And the moral of my story here is that I think we can easily get caught up in that there's some way that it's positivity that somebody's experienced, but behind that is a depth that you don't even see, and some people might even say, oh, it's spiritual bypass, or you're just like too much into seeing the good. But actually the depth is there. As long as the depth is there, and we see that it's not about avoiding negative feelings. It's not about resisting. It's about flowing. It's about being in life. It is about savoring even the things that are hard, even the family members that are sick, even death. How do we get to the place where we can be with the experience? Now, I am still a beginner. When I look at some people who are doing this, I am blown away at the depths that some people can feel and experience life. But it's okay because it's just a journey. And I know that I experience things at the time when I'm ready to experience them. And I spent almost 40 years of my life avoiding feeling my feelings. So it doesn't surprise me that my journey is unique to me. It's different. Other people have been feeling the depth of their feelings for a very long time. I want to say a caveat to that, though. The interesting thing was I was able to feel more for other people, like have deep compassion for other people than I could even for myself. And that was one of the things that I had to learn. And I learned it with this amazing teacher, Pete Walker, who wrote, I'm looking for his book here. I don't see it. He has a couple of books, but one is called Complex PTSD. Awesome book if you haven't read it. And another one, the Tao, T-A-O, the Tao of Fully Feeling. And he was in, I think, Oakland or Berkeley in the East Bay in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I went to him, and he opened me up to learning self-compassion. I had never been able to tune into that. And it is still not always an easy thing for me to tune into. So it's a practice, but it's a journey. And how can we be on this amazing journey of life even with all of the chaos we're in and all of the challenges, how do we like really truly appreciate like we are here in the most turbulent and amazing and changing and shifting time? Maybe not ever, I don't know, but certainly, in the time that I've been alive, this is pretty disruptive times. What if we're part of something amazing that's happening? Right? What if your family, just even in the midst of its upheavals and challenges, it's like birthing all of us into something more, into the truest of who we are, catalyzing us, right? Everything is here to help us to be more true to ourselves, to become more compassionate, to be more open, to draw our circles bigger and bigger, to hold more people and their experiences, to have a better understanding of what we're all going through, to have more tenderness and sensitivity to the human experience, to really genuinely be able to see the beauty of all of life, even in the midst of hardship. I know that's not easy. I'm not trying to say that's easy. Well, it is easy when you are there. But even when I'm there in many, many ways, but I still had to deal with the initial of this experience. 2 weeks of me being in a pretty dark, difficult, painful, challenging time in the beginning of this, realizing all the things that were going to change in my life because of it. And so it's not like, no, it's like don't even feel. No, it's feel the feelings, hold our hearts, hold ourselves, hold, experience it all. Experience it all. That's what life is about. It's about experiencing it all, loving what is, at a minimum, not resisting what is, right? So, you might not love everything right away, but like for me, I can come pretty quickly to like, this is here for a reason. What's the reason? But feeling the feelings is part of the journey. Experiencing the experience that I'm actually experiencing, not trying to resist that experience, that's part of learning. That's what helps me to go, that's what it is. Like when I would watch my family members doing things around the house and me not helping, and I felt it tapping into worth stuff with me, I had to sit with it. Oh, wow. This is actually really painful for me to be not helping. What is the story that I have in my head that says that I am somehow supposed to be? Where is that coming from? Is that, just patterns in our family? Is it gender stuff? Like, am I having like this feeling like I'm the woman I'm supposed to be and they're not supposed to be? Is it that I'm not valuable because I'm not doing enough and I need to be doing more? And if I were to be doing more, then I would be able to feel, I did my part. Those were some of the things that came up for me. I had questions around like just that feeling of being taken care of. Can I take in? Can I receive being taken care of? And these were all edges that I was pushing up against, edges of my comfort zone, edges of like who I thought I was, edges of my wounding, that I had to kind of go up to the edge and dip my toe in onto the other side and say, can I expand? Can I be comfortable with this? Can I tune into what it is in me that has me feeling uncomfortable? And can I go to that next place of like, what would it be like for me to just let them do that? Can I sit in these feelings? Can I even like talk to myself? Like talk to my inner child that's feeling a little wow, right? And then I was able to expand, to be able to hold more, to know that I am lovable. I I am lovable. I am love. I love me. I love me. Even when I can't do things. Right? We've been trained that, like, it's like what you do and how you behave and how you handle situations, like that's like the barometer for whether you're lovable. But at the core, it's like, wait a second. My job right now is to actually sit here, and these people want to take care of me. They love me. They want to take care of me. They know I can't help. They know that. Some of it was also expressing it to my husband, saying how uncomfortable it is and processing it with him, hearing how he felt, hearing that he actually did really want to take care of me, taking in and being humbled by people genuinely wanting to care for me. So you see that it's not just some way that we just, we're just, just going to put on that happy face and be positive, accept what is, just, everything's good, flow with life. It's not that. It's like flow with it, but let it touch you, let it impact you. Let the water go over you and soften it, like smooth out those edges. Sometimes it's rushing over you. You could barely catch your breath. Sometimes it's gently trickling over you. Sometimes it's just not even touching you. It's all just real. It's true. It's all true. So how do we get there to the place where we can say, I'm going to let myself be impacted by life. I'm going to allow myself to practice non-resistance, come into acceptance of what actually is. There's actually like a phrase that you'll hear out there. It's like, accept what is, love what is. Byron Katie talks about loving what is. How do you not be in, one of my favorite things to say is that we are, most of us are arguing with reality. It's like, we don't like something and it's just true. It's like, it's happening. I have a broken hip. I could argue with reality and try to be like, trying to make the situation something else or being mad at what's going on. It's like, I don't want to argue with reality. Reality is I have a broken leg. I have a broken hip. That's it. That's the reality. How am I going to be in this reality and not let that stop me from living my life? Not let that stop me from being all of who I am. Not let that stop me from finding a way to be joyous in this moment. And, like Viktor Frankl is such a role model for me for that, because the man was in a concentration camp and said in so many words, you could take away everything from me, but you cannot take away you're not going to take away from me the way or my power to choose how I respond to this situation. Now that is freaking powerful, right? How powerful is that? You can take away everything. You could take away my freedom, my dignity. You could take away food. You could take away people from me. But you cannot take away the way that I am going to respond to this situation. And that is the power that we all have when we don't argue with reality. Yeah. Now, of course, doesn't mean that we don't have power to change things. It doesn't mean that we don't try to change things. It doesn't mean that we just accept everything and we don't ever, speak up and speak out of things. Not at all. It's about your inner experience. This is about how you be. It's not about what you do. It's about how you be. Yeah. All right. Again, my name is Deb Blum, self-love and authenticity coach. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, because then you'll get more of these videos. And you click the bell, you'll get notified. And if you like the video, please like it and share it with other people. Thank you so much.